voices in your head. You've put your courage to the test, laid all your doubts to rest.
Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Intuitive Queens podcast from your intuition queen. Today I have a very interesting guest. Her name is Novalee and she is a numerologist and she's an author. Hi Novalee, welcome.
Hi Mara, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm very happy for you to be here. So, you have an amazing story and I am super excited to share it. You are a numerologist. Would you like to tell us how your story started, how everything started for you, and what role your intuition played in all this?
Yeah, so I guess it starts with growing up a dysfunctional family and really having this thirst for truth. Like when you grow up in a dysfunctional family, your reality is like constantly dismissed. Like, no, your parents are not fighting, they're just discussing stuff. Or like, no one has like an addiction or any problem, this is just totally normal. And you like learn to keep secrets and you don't really know what the truth is, because it's not really valued. That's one of the things I feel like happens in dysfunctional families, and I think in all families on a certain level. Like there's certain things we don't talk about or we ignore, or whatever, or we like call it something else that's more like palatable. Like, you know, your uncle doesn't have a drinking problem, he just gets really excited at parties or whatever it is. So I found the theater and it was amazing, because I'm also a trained actor, and I was so like attracted to the theater because I was like, oh my God, people are actually expressing their emotions when they're having them, calling them by their name and like going with what's there. There's like no lid on it unless it's like a character choice, of course. So I was really attracted to the theater, and it was really like liberating to be an actor and be around expressive, dramatic people who made no excuses for how they were feeling and reacting to things. And I think it's very healthy to express your emotions. And of course, if you hurt people's feelings, then, you know, you should say sorry. But like in general, I just feel like it's so much easier to be around people when you know what they're thinking and how they're feeling, and you don't have to like use your intuition or anything else to like read the situation or read people around you. So acting was amazing, but I was really struggling because like, I don't know, I thought things were supposed to be hard, which is also a thing from my family. Like, it's not worth it unless you struggle. It's not like it's hard work or nothing. Like nothing ever gets like, you know, served on a silver platter, and money doesn't grow on trees, and all these, and even like the idea of the starving artist, like, oh, why do you want to do this? Like, what is this calling for? It's just weird. And I remember once, maybe it's too much or like, I don't, again, like with the, you know, the keeping of the secrets for your family, like what are you allowed to say? But I remember when I had this calling to go to New York and study, and my dad was like, you know what, I want to pay for therapy because this is just too out there. You need to talk to someone about this need you have to go do acting. And I was like, okay, well then I'm going to spend my therapy hours talking about you. That's what's going to happen. But it was really like I was struggling a lot throughout my life. And like even though my intuition was strong, and I equal intuition a lot with talent, because talent is just trusting your choices, trusting your gut, trusting the nudges you get, following them. Often, and I feel like that's such a concrete thing that everyone can also work on. Trusting your gut gives you more talent. If you ever feel like you're talentless, or someone is like, oh, she's so talented, it's not some like God-given like blessing that's just like randomly bestowed on people. It is trusting your gut. So I was talented. I was trusting my gut in a lot of things on stage and whatever. But life was hard. And I was in New York, and I had a friend who suddenly changed her name. And I was like, wait, what? Like, this is crazy. Are we doing this now? Like, are we doing this? Like, first it was gluten, and then there was all the smoothies, and then there's the dairy free and going vegan and like all these things. And now we're changing our name. Okay. But I had this nudge. Again, you know, I had this like thing that said like, maybe you should just book a session with a numerologist and like hear what's there.
Wow.
Because the you know, like everything in the world is vibration, and there are vibrations in our name too, and in our birthday, and every kind of spiritual science or spiritual field is like based on this thing that like attracts like, and certain things repel, and like even the idea of like soulmates is also like a vibrational theory of like, oh, you match with this person, you have something to teach them or lift them or whatever. So I met with a numerologist, and I was really teenage stubborn about it. I was like, well, if she just says a bunch of crap, then like I'm just gonna ignore her. Or if like, you know, if it's like, oh, okay, change your name and it'll get better, then I'll like maybe change it but not tell anyone. Or like if it doesn't work, I can just change it back. I was like really teenage about it. And I trust, and I'm very grateful that my soul was kind of like, just go. Just do it. Just do it. Like, you don't have to think, you don't have to you really don't need to know all the answers. Also like a family thing for me, like perfectionism, figuring everything out. How does it work? Why does it work? How can I be good at it? So I went to the numerologist, and it was like mind-blowing in a really horrible way, because she could see everything about me. And I really like those internal patterns of like how I was talking to myself, the things that people can't see. Also like growing up with this dysfunctional family, I got very good at being like self-sufficient. I didn't ask for help. I didn't look like I needed help. I was always asked to step up. I was always the one where people were like, oh, she can do the thing. You know, she can handle the challenge, or, you know, she doesn't need extra help, which I think is a flaw just in general, that we think that people who are capable do not need support.
I agree.
Because we all do. So she was saying all these things, and I was like, oh my God, this is really horrible. How does she know? And then she gave me name lists to choose from, like new names. And she was like, so if you do this, you change your name, like these things are going to get easier. And sometimes when we hear certain things are going to get easier, we just don't believe. Like I really was that teenage level of like, I don't like that someone tells me that I am predetermined to have certain patterns, or like if I don't change this, then it's just gonna get worse, even though I can tell it has gotten worse. You know, like as an actor, you also work on yourself because you're the instrument. So you need to figure out like what makes this instrument cry, makes it happy, makes it excited, makes it ambitious, all these things. So I had like a sense of what my instrument could do, but there were things where it's like, I've worked on this for a very long time, and there's no progress. I got no talent. Like my intuition is not like leading me anywhere there. And then I changed my name because I was like, okay, what the hell? Okay. And it really was, I feel like I want to prefix, like I had a really, really hard numeroscope. Like my names were really, 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 really heavy. And I had really done as much as I could with the names I had. So when I got names that were really, really, really supportive of me as a person and like my goals, it really was like being like pushed forward in a very aggressive way. Like lots of the areas that I had given up, like I had kind of given up on love. I had kind of given up on like money, making money. I was like, okay, I'll just be broke. I'll be broke the rest of my life. And I probably won't find, it sounds very sad, but like I probably won't find like someone to share my life with, because I'm kind of broken, you know, like a hard childhood and all those things. But I figured out I wasn't broken because within a month I like met the guy that I'm now married to. Wow. And I fell in love straight away. And when I kissed him the first time, I was like, shit, I want to marry him.
Oh,
what is this? What is this? Like, I didn't want to marry anyone. Like I was not the marrying kind. And he was also like, I could tell that my brain was like, oh, but this is our pattern. Like we ruin things. We're just waiting for us to ruin things. Like we just, you wait, I will ruin it. Or he will realize that I'm broken. He did not realize that. He was the most supportive and is the most supportive and grounded and wonderful and calm and like loving guy ever, and he is like such a perfect match. I didn't even believe in perfect matches. I was like, that's a rom-com story, that's a movie. But he is my movie. Yeah, and like we won the green card lottery.
Wow.
Good things kept happening. Good, yeah, green card lottery. We moved back to New York, and now we moved to LA. And I decided to become a numerologist because I was like, this, I want to know why is it working? Like, why is anything working here? Yeah, and I mean, now that's what I do for a living. I help people like follow that nudge, follow that intuition off the cliff, and change their name. Yeah.
I love this, but before we get into what you do, because that's also super interesting, I kind of want to ask you a few questions, because I know that from talking to other women, people on the podcast, and you talked about Dysfunctional Family. I just finished to read Demi Moore's book where she talks about her dysfunctional family, and how you mentioned a topic that I think it's important to talk about, the fact that people think that because you managed to survive, you're always in this survival mood, or like I need to kind of find a way to cope and move forward.
Yeah,
you make it. You manage to go through whatever it is that is going through in your life. I kind of want to talk a little bit about what was going on for you. What was going on for you in terms of like, why can I not make money? Why can I not find someone to love before you actually switch that?
I think there are many layers. Also, as a numerologist who help people do the jump, I also know that all the work we do matters. Like there is no quick fix. I see that with certain people, if they come to me and like, I just want to be a millionaire. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, we can make you a millionaire, but have you done the work? Because getting $1 million is not the same as keeping $1 million. Because that's also like from dysfunctional families, you know, we learn that things don't last. You always got to be like hyper vigilant, aware of your surroundings, scanning everything's, being on top of things, because like sometimes like the idea is like, if I could just be more prepared, my life won't fall apart.
Right.
And it's just not true. Like, by the way, it's just not true. There is no way to be like super prepared. It's also like the fixer mentality. Like I have people, and I had it myself, like if I could just create the perfect circumstance where I could like save my mom or save my dad or my brother or whoever has the like the most rampant dysfunctional behavior, because it's also like everyone in a dysfunctional family plays a part. Someone might have the addiction or the behavior that's very troublesome that we gotta hide or not talk about, but everyone else is like complicit, codependent, all those layers. And I think it's very helpful. Like I went to 12-step groups that definitely help not just my own like behavior, but all the mindset things of like, blame does have a place. It's not where we need to end up, because like on a higher vibrational scale, there's like forgiveness, and there is acceptance, and there is loving people even if they couldn't love you the way you needed to. And even though they left you, maybe even while they were still in the room, they left you. And all of these, like working on the therapy thing, working on like calming your nervous system, so you're not hypervigilant all the time. So you're not like, I also find that like our whole like as a culture, our obsession with like coffee, I'm like, oh, because we need to be more aware, but like this is like your extra doses. Like I love coffee. This is not like don't drink coffee, but sometimes I'm like, we're asking everyone to be a little bit more dysfunctional, like a little bit more hyper aware, like and have peaks and then fall, which is also like not sustainable. Like on all levels, it's not sustainable. And sometimes we call it, you know, like hustle culture and like patriarchy, and I don't know, workplaces that are formed around what men need and what but I feel like that's like everything is cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but like sometimes we're like focusing on only the action. Like, let's fix this thing. Let's pour coffee in the machine. Let's run faster. Let's get more done. Let's be more prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, but that does not work.
Yeah, there is a process and there are phases,
and
of
also,
course.
like, you know, you can't control everything.
Oh,
You
no.
definitely can't control other people.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately.
Oh,
you
that's
can't.
for sure.
I mean, I would have, if that had worked, I would have done that.
Oh, yeah, sometimes we can barely control ourselves, let alone other people.
Yeah, also the whole sense that things have to be controlled. I think I really learned that from like being around people that were so expressive that they made me uneasy. And I realized that my trigger is actually sometimes big emotions, because emotions are dangerous, because when mom gets that emotional, something bad happens, or dad starts yelling, or whatever it is, that like big emotion equals like a big uncontrollable force that's going to end up hurting you, or you are the like emotional vessel that's going to hold your family together.
Right.
You know, I think also like people get sick from trying to hold emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
like a
so
healer burnout thing.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I feel that like I've said this many times, and I had other guests in the podcast touching upon this topic, where, you know, the emotions that you hold and you store in your body, if you don't release them, if you don't work through them, at some point they're gonna come out as a pain, as a disease, and you need to work. And I always say to my clients, imagine your iPhone storage. Once your iPhone is full, you can't take more pictures, you can't update anything, because you need to delete. And this is kind of like how I feel that a lot of people get that picture better, and then they can relate to our body and to ourselves. All right, so okay, I have a couple of questions for you here. How did you, because you just talked about bottling up emotions and avoiding to have the big emotions. What was your process to actually release some of them? And the second question, well, I'll ask you the second question.
Okay, so I think I am very blessed to have found a theater, because I think it really helps to be around people who express truth. And people who say that actors are liars, I'm like, then you are not seeing the good place. I think people go to the theater or even turn on Netflix to work through stuff. Yeah. Like, we want to see people try. We watch Romeo and Juliet, even though we know the story, because we want to see people try and feel, and then we feel.
Yeah.
So I did acting, and I recommend it to anyone, but I also know that it's not a calling for all people, simply because you get access to emotions and you get to name them. I feel like many people walk around saying they're numb, or feeling like, oh, I don't have a lot of feelings, or I don't know what a joyous life is, or whatever. I'm like, well, you're feeling something. We all are at any given point. Like, I am having emotions right now, and just looking at your face, they are also changing.
Yeah.
So like having and naming emotions. And I definitely think if you're not in therapy or any kind of like support group for whatever dysfunction you have in your life, because we all got something, I think that can be so helpful. Also, that we're not alone. There's a sense of like, oh, your dysfunction is unique, like your family is unique. It's not. It's really extremely common.
Yeah, it's really not.
And it does not matter if you grew up, you know, wealthy, or, you know, like, I don't know, like poor, or if you grew up, it does not matter what the story is. There is some kind of dysfunction in our life. And if you want to point to a big one, it's often money.
Oh yeah.
You know, look at the money stories. You know, how you do money is how you do everything, because money is abundance and flow.
And
are you allowing flow?
Yeah.
You know,
and it's what you think about yourself. It's how you see yourself. It sounds it feels like they're not connected, but money says a lot about you. So your money story says a lot about you, and a lot of your blockages and limiting beliefs that are that are related to the rest of your life, to all of the areas of your life. Yeah, absolutely.
And also your container, how much can you contain? I think that's such an interesting thing on all levels, is like not just allowing flow, whatever it is, money, love, time, whatever it is that you're short on, like allowing it into your space, and then also containing it, keeping it, like, you know, if it's a retirement fund, or if it's love on a level where, you know, you get kids and you know that they bring even more abundance, because more love gives more love and more money. So like the idea of like, if I expand my family, I expand my container of love, I'm going to get more broke. I'm like, it can't be. It just can't be, if you're really following the flow. I mean, there are yoga classes for emotions, you know, do yoga for anger. I feel
there
like there's
are a
so
lot
many
of practices that you can
there's
do
a lot of
for
practices
any
with that
kind of emotion.
If you decide to heal a pattern, everything becomes part of that healing. You know, if you're working on something, every moment of your day will like pull a thread back to it. So if you're working on your money mindset, or clearing, I don't know, love troubles, or asking for like just more flow in your life, then dedicating your yoga practice, thinking about it when you cook your food, thinking about it when you do your online shopping, and you don't, whatever it is that you do, like you don't like have a scarcity mentality and like keep it small,
be intentional,
like trying to save
whenever you do
save
something
stuff.
It's being intentional. What is it that you're trying to attract?
And also, I mean, look at your whatever stories you have from your family, what was said, and see what would the opposite of the story be, and is there any way I can act on that story right now? And feel, what would that feel like? You know, what would that feel like? Oh, we never buy new cars. Oh, what if I go like look at a new car?
Just look at it.
Feel like the emotional like span. No one says that you have to jump fully into like the extreme, because but like testing out like the opposite of what you've been told, or the stories you have in your head.
That's actually a good advice. Yeah, absolutely. So now I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper on your transition from going to a reading and being told you need to change your name, to you kind of starting to see the things happening, because I guess there was like a transitional moment for you where nothing was happening, everything was kind of dark, and then you go to do the reading, you change your name, which it's a legal change of the name. You change your name, and then you say a month after you meet your what is now your husband and everything else. What was the transition for you? Because like, as you mentioned, the limiting belief is there's like, well, what is she gonna do with me? You know, I'm kind of like, you know, I've been like this all my life. How is this gonna change from like this way?
I think it's very easy to see in hindsight. Everything is easy to see in hindsight. When you look back, you're like, oh, that was the moment. So I changed my name at the end of December 2000 and something, 15 or something. And I was in Denmark then. I came back to New York, and it was gray and it was cold. And I had this sudden nudge. This was the first thing that happened. I was standing in a supermarket, and I was looking at whatever, rice or something. And next to the rice was like a bunch of 7-day candles, prayer candles that come in like a glass container, and you burn them for 7 days. And some of them have like saints on them and whatever. And I was like, I need to buy some candles. And I was like, okay, why? This like shitty quality candles. Bought a bunch of candles, came home, and had this sudden, and I've never had this need to do a spell or whatever. I'm not like, I'm super spiritual, and now that I'm like further in my whatever transformation path, whatever, I'm like inviting it way more in, but I'm not super, and this is totally the story, right? Like this is like, I'm just not super like, oh, getting downloads, or like my nudges are pretty like in my body, like it's not my brain doing anything. So like when I got the candles and I got home, and I had this thing where I was like, I actually really want to light a candle for love. And I was like, that's a weird thing. Why do you want to do that? And I'm like, I don't know. And I took a Sharpie and I wrote on the glass, and I sat, and this is like a manifesting thing. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was like, oh, this is how you do it. Of course, this is how you do it. If you want something in your life, you got to vibrate at the level it is. So I was sitting thinking about what love is not. And then I was looking for the opposite. And then I wrote that on that candle, because I have been in really, really, really dysfunctional relationships that were so awful, because I didn't think that I deserved better. And I thought that love was quarreling and fighting and raising your voice and slamming a door and crying a lot and manipulating the other person and being like all in pain and then having fantastic makeup sex, but then just like repeating this pattern. So I knew exactly what love is not. And then I sat there and I wrote on my candle, and I sat and like called it in. What is love for me? Well, it's safety, it's loyalty, it's transparency, it's trust. It feels like a slow burn. It doesn't feel like a knife to the heart or anything. I was like sitting there and like writing on this candle, like filling, of course, I didn't know it at the time, but like filling this candle with my intuition. And I burned it, and like I had it in my room. And when it burned out a few days later, I just did it the same one more time. I just sat with a candle and I attuned myself to the vibrancy of love. And I was just like, what does it feel like? All these things. It feels like people coming to you, not having to chase. It feels like when you sink into a warm bath and you can feel like your skin is literally like releasing. Yes, all these things. So I feel like the change from me was like, I did the session, I found some names from her lists. I did it. It's very easy to change your name in Denmark, where I'm from. I did it online, and then I kind of just forgot about it. And then I came back to New York, and I had to tell everyone that I changed my name. And they were pretty cool. I mean, I love that actually about New York. It's a little different in Denmark. Maybe it was easier for me to do it, because I was just like, I've known you guys for like 6 months or something. You know, it was like acting school or whatever. And I changed my name, and it's legal, so now you're gonna call me this. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, because it's more normal, maybe also like for actors. And then like the things that start happening, like me and those damn candles. And whenever I tell people this story, I feel like I can tell if they're understanding what I'm saying, if they ask the right questions. Some people go like, oh, so what kind of candles were they? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's not the point.
That's not, it doesn't matter. Like the candles don't matter. It matters that like clearly something in me, and shifted. I mean, now I know it on a professional level. Like some of my my heart center had been opened, which is one of the things that happen when you change your name. And it was just so much easier for me to channel what I wanted.
Wow.
Yeah. So like also when he came along, like Dylan, I was like, wait, what? Like, is this really? And he felt like, and he said he said some of the things I had written on that freaking candle. So talk about manifestation magic in that sense.
You know what I just had in my mind? You know the movie, what's it called, with Nicole Kidman and Jessica Bullock and what's his name? Like, witch's thing that she writes a letter.
Oh, yeah. Is it Practical Magic or?
I can't remember the title, but she writes the letter, and then when she meets the guy, it is exactly everything that she's been asking for. Yeah.
I think I was also very clear that it's how it feels. It's not what it looks like. Because it's also that's a dysfunctional, to me anyway, perception of things. What does it look like? It does not matter. It really matters what it feels like. And if you are judging whatever is in your life based on what it looks like, then you're seeing it too much from the outside. Or you're looking at your husband or guy or whatever thinking, I can't show him to my friends. Like, I don't want to tell anyone what he does for a living. Or like, are you judging people from like the rules of your parents? You know,
So true.
is it whatever it is, like, can I put it on Instagram? Do I want to put it on Instagram? You know, are we having Christmas cards taken? Like, whatever, it's all good if you want to do all the things, but it's just like, it's not, it's a wrong parameter
Yeah.
for finding truth and realness in the world, to look at what it looks like.
Because in it to feels right, in it to feels like, you're right, you need to feel it inside your body, and it needs to feel right, and it needs to feel good, and it doesn't matter the exterior. And
absolutely. I want to add to that, because like I lost like 20 pounds after my name change, and that was one thing that people really commented on. Wow, you look good. That's about time. Oh, now you don't need to lose more weight. And I was like, first off, I find it really, really weird that we're allowed to comment on people's weight. I feel like that's such a person, you don't know. I could have cancer. You don't know. Like, I mean, there could be many reasons for this. And also like parameter of success. Your weight, especially as a woman. How tiny can you be? How much money can you put in white old men's pockets try to sell you shit you don't need? But like that certain parameters, again, for like, I know how it feels, but I could also tell like people do react to what it looks like also.
It is true. I mean, like we can see that from the social media and how people respond to things and comments. Absolutely. And this is why we're coming together, all of us doing all those things, so then we can help people to be more aware and more connected to themselves, to everything else, that it's more meaningful and has a purpose. All right, so you get interested into this. Tell us a little bit about how did you get into it? Because of course this changed your life completely. So how did you start to learn? What was your process, and then go towards what you do now?
So changed my name, things started happening crazy. You know, I remember when we won the green card, and I was like, this is really, really lucky. I have not been lucky in my life. I didn't realize that I was sad about that until I got lucky. You know, sometimes you think, oh, it's just how life is. I'm not the kind that wins stuff. I just won, like a week ago, I won a photo shoot worth like $750.
Wow.
Out of the blue. And I've been needing new photos for I'm just saying, like, certain things happened, and I was like, okay, this is not just like internal, it's also external. Like, things are coming to me. Like a green card does not freaking just come to you. If you want to live in the US. I know people who've tried for like more than 10 years to get in. And I decided I wanted to learn more, and I was like researching people. And this is one of the things that I recommend for people looking for any kind of person to help them. Be it a coach, be it a numerologist, be it whatever. Sometimes it's really helpful if they have a background that you can relate to. If there's something that makes you feel safe, because they are supposed to, most people who help us are supposed to like push us off the cliff a little bit. But it's helpful if they know a little bit about where you come from before you jump off that cliff, to have a sense of like, how do I help you? So I found a numerologist that was also a psychologist, so like an academic, but she was also a dancer, or had been a dancer. So I found someone where I was like, oh, I kind of get it. I love that you're academic, so you're approaching like this very spiritual and ancient tool from like a very like, let's look at the sources. What do they say? Let's build understanding. And that she had like a performance background, so she kind of understood that I'm an expressive person and I feel strongly about things, and when I don't get it, I don't get it. Like, you know, you need to explain it to me again. Or something, because I don't get it, and I'm supposed to get it if I'm supposed to help people with this numerology stuff. So I did her training. It was 9 months, and every month I was like, oh, now I get it. Okay, so this is what we're doing. And every new month I was like, oh my God, there was so much more. And I think sometimes when you're a student, you're like, oh, I got it, I just want to do. But then when you become a master, which I am, I'm an expert in my field, now I'm like, oh, every new person is like a case study. And I have like downloads about them before I even meet them. And after, where I'm like, oh, I should also tell her this that I just saw in my mind about like her numbers or whatever. So I took the training. became a numerologist, moved back to the US. We had moved to Denmark. And then I started my business. And that's also been kind of crazy because like learning how to do business, like I was an actor, even though that's show business, it's not the same. So like, yeah, figuring out how to, again, with the patterns, because now I know with my name change that the patterns are only left in my head. They're not left in my life anymore. There is no lesson I'm trying to learn through challenge. Most of my lessons are now learned by expansion.
Right.
And it's just as challenging to learn through expansion as it is to learn from like actual challenge, you know, like jump through these hoop, get over this mountain, prepare for this big thing. So like, you know, I got offered a book deal and I took it because that's amazing. Also, again, freaking lucky. Wrote the book and it's out worldwide.
What's the title of the book?
The book is called A Little Bit of Numerology. So like this numerology stuff I'm talking about, you know, you should check out the book.
Yes.
Available nationwide. Please support your little indie bookstore, but it's on Amazon as well.
Okay.
So that's what I do. I help people change their name.
All right. So now, because when I first spoke to you and you told me about the change name, I had no idea this is what was something that you do when you do the numerology, because I know a little bit about it because I'm interested, and I know you do work with numbers, so your date of birth and whatever else. So explain us a little bit what you do, how does that work, and how you help people with it.
Yes. So kind of like astrologers, which I feel like most people have heard about astrology, where you look at your birthday and how the sky looked at that point in time. And numerology does like incorporate astrology. We look at, you know, your zodiac sign too. But we look at the numbers in your birthday. They're really interesting. They tell us, you know, strong suits, personality, challenges, life lessons, which is also an interesting thing, because often when people talk about manifestation and law of attraction, I'm like, yeah, you can law of attraction your way out of certain things, you know, if you also use the other universal laws, like inspired action, for example. But certain lessons are lessons. Like, this is your beautiful lesson in this life, you know, and those are found in your birthday. They never change. And every time you master a part of that lesson, you get to try it on a new level. Yeah. So it's like, if the lesson is something about money, let's say, you know, you start on a low level, and then when you master whatever, the money, the flow, the exchange, the communication that money is, you know, the travel, that's also like money travels, and maybe you need to travel to make money if you have that lesson in your birthday, and then you get to play with more and more money, right? You know, on a higher and higher level, and maybe on a very high level that needs to be like charity or philanthropy or whatever. But some people need to play with money on a very high level before they feel free to let it pass through them. To do good in the world, because that's what money is here for, to do good in the world. But that's what we look at. We look at the birthday, and then we look at the names, because in every letter is a vibration, and when we put all the numbers, the vibrations behind the name together, we get the vibrational pattern for it. And this is also like, you know, we pass that on through our family. You know, you don't just pass on like a last name. Every single name you have, you know, names has a vibrational pattern, and you like it, you know it, even if you don't like it. If I told you about it, whatever it really is behind it, you know it, and that's why you pass it on to people. So I have people who reach out and they're like, oh, I came up with all these names on my own, like I want to change my name and I came up with all these new ones. And I'm like, they're really, really pretty names, and they're all the same vibration as you already have, because that's how it feels. Like, I've had people who are like, well, just give me, you know, I don't do that anymore, but I had a friend who was like, can you just like, you know, she gave birth and she wanted like good names for her kid. And I was like, okay, well, if you don't want a session, like you don't actually want it, but you just want like name lists on some good stuff. And she read through the list, and there were like literally hundreds of names. She's like, yeah, I don't like any of them. I was like, no, I know, because you don't know them. Like, you don't know that vibration. So I can tell you it's good and it's protective and it's high vibe and it's what I would give my kid if I had one. But there is a soul nudge. There is something that calls us. If we decide that a name change, whether it's numerology or something else, I see that as your soul saying, you know what, we need a change.
Yeah.
We need to shake it up. We need something new.
Yeah.
And also why I say, you know, it's very hard to lift ourselves out of the vibration we are in. Because even people who are very intuitive and like spiritual and can like download ideas from the ethers, they usually don't download the full blueprint. You know, you get like bits and pieces, and that's why you sometimes need an expert to put it together.
And I see this with myself. Sometimes I'm like, there is something I am not understanding here. There is something that I struggle to see, whatever it is, something blocking me or whatever. So that's when I feel called to go to someone and do a reading, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I think I need that. Now I think I understand it a little bit more. But it's true, because they see a bigger picture. You're involved in, like, in everything. When you are more involved in the situation, you might see something, but not the whole thing.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I look at the birthday and I look at the names and I look at, from my perspective, what your soul wanted to explore and see if we can do that through expansion instead of just challenge.
Right.
Because my patterns, like in my birthday, I have issues around I have challenges around love, boundaries, beauty, expression, and art. So I was doing that before, but I'm doing it on a whole different level now. Boundaries are also a really interesting lesson to have, right? Because there are boundaries when people are in your face, you know, when you're so like cornered because you just have not put down a boundary because you don't think you're worthy of doing it, or you're so used to people entering your space and taking energy or money or love or whatever from you. So like my boundary lesson has to do with stopping them before they even get through the door. They don't even need to be in my space. I have, because I know, we all know if we have a boundary issue in our life, we know it before they even, you know, we can feel them coming through the door as a client, you know, as a business, as a friend, you know, friend acquaintance. We're like, you know, something in you is like, oh, little bell goes off, like, oh, I need to, like, you know, be careful around this person. You don't need to be careful if you got strong boundaries. But it's a lovely test. You know, I don't like my lesson. I don't like it at all. But
I think we like our lessons, but that's how we grow and that's how we expand at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay, so in changing the name, because I guess now whoever's listening or watching will probably start to ask a lot of questions like, how do I do this? My question is more related to people that have a business in branding their name, because, like, for example, my name is my name, but then as a brand, as a coach, I go by with the Intuition Queen. My name has been channeled by a friend and it felt really good for me. So, but when there are situations where people might be looking for the right name, and do you also do that? Is that also related to?
I do that. I mostly do people, because nothing is more powerful than the person wielding the tool. And your business is a tool. It's supposed to serve you, not make more trouble. Right. And often, you know, people name their business after themselves, so they intensify whatever stuff they got going on, which is great if they got lots of themes about money and exchange and, you know, fame or whatever you want in your business. But that's not that's not all we often have. So yeah, I help people pick a date, because that's also, like, again, you know, things are born, entities are born, businesses are born. I picked my bank after the day it was formed, because I was like, that's a good date for money, so you're not gonna crash.
Interesting to know.
So like that perspective, and like, when do you want to do business, when do you want to launch something? You can also ask an astrologer about many of these things, because when we look at like numerology patterns, and like when I do like monthly readings, monthly forecasts, they will completely overlap with astrology, because nothing in the universe, in this vibrational world we live in, is disharmonious. Like it all fits together. So if you're plugged in to the channel, you will get the information through whatever words that you use. So like helping people pick a date for the formation, or if they have already formed a company, maybe picking a name that can be more supportive of what you want your tool to do. Which is usually make money. It's very simple. You want your tool to make money. You also want it to be integrity, and you want it to be like fit with you, and you don't want to like spend all your like, tossing and turning in your bed at night thinking about like, why does it not work? Why does it not work? And like, I mean, I do titles and prices and all that stuff, because what I guess scientists have like figured out what kind of numbers we like when we pay for things. That's founded in numerology. There is a reason why it's 99 or 95, and why I really appreciate people who do like angel numbers, like 111 or like 222 or 555. 555 is actually pretty good. But like, I'm like, well, then sometimes you can sell stuff on the story you tell about it. Maybe you downloaded not just like the product or the service, but also the price. So you go with that. But if you didn't, you can use numerology to help like sales and stuff like that too.
Wow. Amazing. Wow. Okay. So before we wrap up, please tell us where we can find you, where we can get your book. And you also have a podcast.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
That of course is about numerology. Obviously.
Yes. So my name is Novalee Wilder, and if you Google that, you will find me. So it's novaleewilder.com. It's Novalee Wilder on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, if you want to be friends with me on LinkedIn. And I have the Numerology podcast. Very simple name there. I founded the Numerology School. We start classes in the fall. And I wrote a little bit of numerology. Great book. It's really cute too. Wait, I can show it. Wait, we're just going to see it. It's a pretty little thing. A pretty little pink thing. It looks like this. It even has like foil prints.
There.
And if it's just like, I just want to know a little bit, I'm not ready to buy a book or anything, you can go to my website and you can download my freebie, which is like an intro to the base numbers. And the base numbers is what we find in your birthday. So you will have usually 2 base numbers, and they will tell you something about, what your personality is like, what you like in life, what are the challenges, what are your gifts, which is one of the beautiful things that I love doing when I have clients, is like mirror their gifts back to them and say like, oh, this is who you are. And they're all like, oh, I've never seen it in such a
that way,
like positive light. And I'm like, but it is positive. Like usually all the wounds we have are on our like core beliefs around ourselves. So it's like, if you're here to break the mold, if you're here to be different and be a rebel and be a revolutionary and fill in the gaps, then you probably feel like the outsider, and you've probably been told like multiple times that you need to tone it down and, color within the lines or whatever. Or if you have leader tendencies, if you have leader goals, which it does not matter if you're male or female or whatever gender you ascribe to. If you have leader qualities, then you need to lead. And it doesn't matter if you were told that you were bossy or bitchy, or that it's not, whatever aggressive for a woman. You need to do it. Or you will be a real pain to your family, because then you will micromanage them. And it's not nice. It's not nice for them. So you need your army or your company or your leader position, for example. And sometimes that's like a really like, oh, am I allowed? Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, you are allowed. You're allowed to be exactly who you are.
Exactly. That's so true. Wow. Okay. Well, let's please end this amazing episode with an advice or tips, if you have any, for whoever is listening and watching.
Yeah, I mean, I love that this podcast is about intuition, and I feel like often when I'm having trouble in my life, I need to remind myself of the times I did follow my intuition. So I made a little list, like, oh, what did I do that people say I shouldn't, but it felt good? So I make a little list. It's kind of like a confirmation list. So if you feel like you don't know where your intuition is, or like you don't know, I don't know how you feel about a certain thing, like make a little list of like the times you listened and it felt good and it was right, and then test it against whatever situation you are in right now and say like, oh, does it feel like that? Does it feel like my intuition? You know, track it, be like super practical about it. Like that's one of my tips, because I do crazy stuff sometimes. But I test it against that list of like, oh, but does it feel like that in my body, or wherever you feel like? And also like, okay, this is an extra tip, but like you can negotiate. Like sometimes we think that, oh, but this is the download, I'm supposed to do this. I'm not excited about it, but like I'm supposed to do this. You can negotiate with your guides, with your spirit team. You can say like, I need a lot of confirmation on this. I need a couple of signs. They're really specific. You got to be like really specific if I'm going to do this. It's not a one-way street. Like intuition and talent and getting guidance, we get it all the time. We often dismiss it. So if you want to be really specific, get really practical. You need like 3 red feathers before you buy the car. So like, that's just what I need. They will bring it if it's right.
True.
So,
absolutely.
Get practical.
Love it. Oh, I love this episode so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was lovely. So lovely.
Yeah. Thank you. Please get in touch with Novalee. All the details will be in the box below in the show notes. If you're watching or listening, it doesn't matter. All the details, you can find it. Thank you so much, Novalee. It's been such a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
And if you like this episode, please subscribe, share, talk about it with your friends. And if you have any questions, please do get in touch with me. You can find me on theintuitionqueen.com and every social media as The Intuition Queen. And please don't forget that I also have a discovery call. If you have questions, if you're feeling like you want to know more about yourself, you want to understand how to find your purpose, you really want to do more and be more in your career, just click on the link below. You see all the messages. You can also go to my website, and I offer a free consultational call for us to get a feel of what's going on with you and how I can help you. And thank you so much for watching and listening. And I will see you next week. Bye.
Your heart is full and wanting more. Your future's at the door.